My beloved child, not every turning point in life arrives with thunder or brilliant light. Some changes begin with a whisper, a voice not heard by human ears, but resonating from deep within the soul. You have heard it, a subtle stirring, a gentle reminder you cannot explain. It was no coincidence, not an echo from a weary mind. It was a signal from me, the one who sees into your soul, even when others see only the surface. You have lived through long days filled with unanswered questions. Mornings when you woke feeling lost in your own home, unable to understand how love could stretch so thin between those who once cherished one another. You tried to hold everything together, your smile, the order, and the hope, but even you weren't sure if there was anything left to cling to. And then, in a moment that seemed so small, I stepped in, not with noise, not with force, just the quiet yet powerful presence of mine beginning to touch your heart. You believed you had failed because you couldn't keep everyone close like before. You felt inadequate to preserve the peace within your family. But I say to you, not every good thing depends on your strength. Some things I intentionally place beyond your reach, so that you may learn surrender. For it is in your weakness that my power is made perfect. Restoration does not begin with how much you can do, but with how deeply you are willing to admit your need for me. I see the struggles within you, the silent ones, the things you never speak aloud, yet they simmer quietly each night. You wonder, how can I go on when I myself am falling apart? But my beloved, I did not call you to be a superhero. I called you to be one whose heart is soft before me, ready to say, Lord, use me, even in my fragility. I do not need you to be strong all the time. I need you to lean on my strength. And from that place, you will become a true pillar in your family, not because you are flawless, but because you know you belong to the one who is. When I look at your family, I do not only see the present chaos, I see something greater, deeper. I see every link connecting generations, every seemingly random moment charged with spiritual meaning. I see your grandmother's prayers, your mother's tears, and your own dreams all being woven into a tapestry that only I can fully see. And now, I am beginning to open a new chapter in that story, a chapter where you play a central role. You were not born into this family by chance. I placed you in the right place, at the right time, because there is something only you can do. I entrusted these loved ones to you, not because you are more capable than others, but because I knew your heart would remain tender before me. In a world full of rejection, I saw that you still carry mercy. In a cold generation, you still shed tears for the ones you love. That is why I chose you, and that is why the restoration will begin right where you stand. You once longed for a clear sign that I was listening. You wished for a dream, a confirmation, something to assure you that your prayers were not forgotten. So now, take these very words. I speak to you as your answer. Not a dream, not a dazzling miracle, but me, your God of life, choosing to dwell within your family, not to judge, but to heal, not to search for faults, but to rebuild the foundation of love that has been cracked by time, misunderstanding, and hurt. The change you long for will not arrive in a flash. It begins with the smallest actions, a sincere word of forgiveness, a look of compassion, a gentle gesture expecting nothing in return. And from these, I will multiply the good, like a small seed in the sower's hand. When placed in the right soil, at the right season. It grows into a great tree, offering shade not just to one but to generations. I am using you to replant the soil of kinship, and I will cause it to bear fruit in ways you've never imagined. Do not be quick to conclude that your family is a failure. Do not say, "It's too late." In my kingdom, there is no loss I cannot redeem, no beginning too messy to rewrite, and no heart too hard for me to soften. You only need one thing: to walk each day in trust, knowing that even if you see no results yet, I am still moving behind the veil of reality. You will not walk alone. I go before you. I am beside you, and I am preparing the way for what is to come. There are moments in family life when silence speaks louder than any voice, not because there is nothing left to say, but because words have dried under the weight of wounds left unhealed. You sit among those who were once so close, yet your heart feels as though it's in another place, a land full of questions and distance, the averted eyes, the footsteps that pass without pause, the questions left unfinished. All of it paints a picture you never thought you'd be living in. And you wonder, what have we lost along the way? I hear that. I am not deceived by peaceful appearances. I see the suffocation within, where emotions are pressed down, where painful memories remain unspoken. I know the things no one dares to mention, the forgotten dreams, and relationships maintained only out of duty. But my beloved, I want you to understand that silence is not the end. It is the soil waiting for new life. Right where nothing seems to be working, I begin my renewal. In the dark, the seed is not dead, it is preparing to live. Do not be afraid when the silence around you becomes uncomfortably deep. Do not panic when emotional conversations of the past become only memories. I do not need noise to work wonders. Some miracles begin only after every voice has faded. Every human plan has ceased, and there is finally space for me to do what I desire. It is silence that becomes the canvas for my voice. And the first thing I want you to hear is this: I have never left. You once believed the distance between your family members was too great to bridge. You asked, can things ever return to how they were? But I say to you, I do not bring things back to the old, I make all things new. And better, what has been broken does not need to return to its former shape. When I restore, I do not patch. I recreate. I do not merely heal wounds, I renew life. The pain your family has endured is not beyond my control. Though I did not create that pain, I can use it to build something good. A house with a sinking foundation must first be lifted to be repaired. There will be dust. There will be hammering. There will be moments when things look worse before they look better. But do not let appearances deceive you. I am working deeper than the surface. I am healing not just how your family members treat one another, but how they see one another as souls in the process of transformation. You once wished to return to the warm days when your family could sit together without tension, but what I am preparing for you far exceeds memories. I do not recreate nostalgia, I build new reality. In it, each member of your household will not simply live near one another out of duty, but together in love that has been refined. They will learn to see one another not only through the lens of the past, but in the light of forgiveness. There will be a transformation deeper than outward form, a change that begins in the heart. I am calling you not to make everyone else change, but to become the starting point of change. My presence within you is the silent influence. Do not think you must hold every role. Do not feel guilty for not pleasing everyone. I do not need you to solve every problem. I need you to keep the light burning. When you keep forgiving, keep loving without return, keep hoping without visible signs, that is when you are making way for me to move. Do not underestimate the power of a surrendered soul. Sometimes, all it takes is one person remaining soft before me, and the whole family can be changed. You cannot force others to come near me, but you can make my presence in you so radiant that they long to rediscover what was lost. Live with the faith that every act of kindness, every persistent prayer, every moment of silent love is a stone I am using to rebuild this house from the inside out. The present silence is not proof of failure. It is the necessary space I am preparing to fill with life. I have never abandoned your family, even in moments when everything seemed distant. Do not measure the outcome by what your eyes can see. Do not draw conclusions from fleeting emotions. I am the one who exists beyond time, and I am still writing the story you thought had ended. This is not a conclusion, it is a turning point. You are not alone in this journey. I have sent my angels to encamp around your home. The whispered prayers you've spoken in the darkness still echo in heaven. Nothing is forgotten. I am laying the foundation for something new, not with dramatic tremors, but with the steady heartbeat of grace. In due time, you will see flowers bloom where you once saw barren land, and then you will understand this silence was the bell that marked the beginning of rebirth. All things of true worth must be tested. An ordinary stone remains unnoticed among many, but when placed in fire and pressed, it reveals itself to be a diamond. Likewise, people do not mature through ease. Family bonds are not sustained merely by blood, but must be forged through forgiveness, endurance, and sacrifice. And your family, as you are witnessing, is walking through a season of fire. But do not be quick to despair. Do not call it lost too soon. I am using this very fire to refine what is truly precious. You once asked, why is it that the people I love the most are the ones who hurt me the deepest? That question is not a sign of weakness, but evidence that you deeply value love. If it didn't matter, you wouldn't be grieving. If you didn't care, you wouldn't cry. Pain is the proof that your heart is still alive, that you are still fighting for what is meaningful. I see that fight, and I am not standing apart from it. Every time you patiently listen while your heart aches, every time you choose silence over argument, every time you pray for the one who made you weep, you are rebuilding this house with me from its truest foundation, not with force, nor with control, but with enduring love, love that seeks not its own, love that keeps no record of wrongs, love that, as Scripture says, never fails. 1 Corinthians 13-8. Your family may be in a season of chaos. Misunderstandings have piled up. Old wounds are resurfacing, and careless words have left marks not easily erased. But know this, there is no crack too deep that I cannot mend, no memory too dark that my light cannot reach. I am the one who restores what seemed beyond repair. The broken pieces, when placed in my hands, are not only healed, they are transformed. You are learning a precious truth, that keeping things from breaking is not always the best outcome. Some things must be broken for something truly new to be born. There are old, hardened layers that must be shattered for the soft core within to be revealed, and from that place of desolation, I will sow new life, life not as shallow as before. Be deeper, not as fragile as it once was, but strong enough to withstand storms. That is what I am doing in your family. You may feel your efforts are dissolving into nothing. You've done all you can but see no result. You've prayed and seen no change. You've loved and received no response. But my child, consider the vine growers. They do not expect sweet fruit on the day they sow. They persevere. They water. They wait. And in the appointed season, they reap the harvest. So will you. Don't let delay convince you that I am not working. Don't let silence convince you your prayers are in vain. Everything you do in love, every word you speak in faith, is sowing into a spiritual reality your eyes have not yet seen. I know you are weary. I know how many times you've wanted to stop. But it is in those very moments of weakness that my strength is made perfect. When you are emptied, I can fill you. When there is nothing left to lean on, you will see I have always been the unshakable foundation. You don't need to understand everything to obey. All you need is a mustard seed of faith, and I will do the rest. Give to me what you cannot control, and you will witness me doing what surpasses your understanding. Your loved ones may be reacting out of their own pain. They may reject the love you are trying to express, but that does not mean the seeds you sow will not bear fruit. Their hearts may be hardened now, but I am the one who softens soil. I am the one who opens the eyes of the blind. I am the one who rekindles cold souls. And I am doing that even now. Little by little, day by day, in your family. Do not judge the outcome by temporary appearances. True, lasting change takes time to grow. Hold fast to this. I never begin what I will not finish. I am faithful, and the word I have spoken, I will uphold. Your family is part of a plan far greater than what you can see right now. This current state is not the final destiny. It is merely a middle page, not the last chapter. I am still writing the story, and glory is coming. So do not let the past hold you back from moving forward. Do not let what has happened convince you there is no hope. I am making all things new, and I do not need perfect conditions to begin. I only need one person who believes, one who will stand in the gap between reality and promise, one who accepts being misunderstood and continues to love. One like you. And if you remain faithful, if you keep trusting, you will see. These very trials will become the evidence of my goodness, not only for you, but for the generations after you. In the moments you feel small and insignificant, I see something different in you. I do not look at you the way people look at one another through accomplishments, reputation, or outward strength. I see the heart, and in your family, I see something deeply precious, one who is willing to stand, even in the ruins, one who, though wounded, refuses to give up, one who can say, I don't understand everything, but I still believe, and that one is you. You once believed you were just a bystander, that your presence wasn't significant enough to make a difference in a family growing distant. But my child, hear this clearly. I chose you not because you are strong, but because you are willing. Your obedience, your consistency in small things, your silent prayers, unknown to others, all are echoing in heaven and causing a ripple on earth no one can yet see. You are not on the sidelines. You are at the center of the work I am doing. In an age where many choose what is easy, I see you still trying to keep love from fading. When someone in the house gives up, you take another step forward. When harsh words are spoken, You choose silence to preserve peace. When your loved ones are lost in confusion, you intercede for them. No one counts how many times you sigh in the kitchen, how many times you hold back tears to keep loving, but I count them, and with each one, you are building a spiritual shelter over your household. Family is not just a random collection of people under one roof. It is a spiritual battleground, and in every family, there must be a gatekeeper, one who stands at the door and keeps the enemy out. That person is you. When you silence anger with wise words, when you dissolve misunderstandings with patient attitudes, you push back the darkness. The enemy knows your importance. That's why he attacks you hardest. He wants you to feel useless, isolated, and exhausted. But you must know, by your faith alone, you are shaking the gates of hell. When I chose Moses to deliver my people, he was not a perfect man. When I called Joseph, he was merely a young man betrayed by his own brothers. When I set my eyes on Mary, she was not someone of worldly prominence, but her heart was willing. I do not need perfection, I need surrender. And now, I am placing that same call upon you. Surrender to me, so I may do the impossible within your own household. You do not need to have all the answers. You simply need to keep walking each day with trust in me. Believe that every prayer you lift up does not fall into the void. Believe that every righteous decision you make, even if unnoticed, is another stone laid in the spiritual foundation I am building. When others lose patience, keep persevering. When others doubt, keep trusting, because one day, those who once misunderstood you will come and ask, how did you keep your peace in those darkest days? I am training you to become a bridge for broken hearts. In my hands, you will be a healer, a guide, a bearer of hope, not by your own strength, but by the power I pour through you. Your faithfulness in the small things is opening doors for me to move in great things. And when the time comes, you will see clearly, no one else was meant to stand in your place. No one else could fulfill what I am accomplishing through you. Do not belittle your influence just because no one praises you. In my kingdom, rewards do not come from applause, they come from faithfulness. The more faithful you are in silence, the more powerfully I will use you. The more rightly you live before me, the more your family is drawn into the light. And one day, others will realize what held this family together was not some grand event, but an ordinary person who quietly did the right thing day after day. You are the keeper of the flame of hope, the flame of faith, the flame of unconditional love. Keep that flame burning, even when the winds blow against it. For I am the giver of fire, and I will not let it be extinguished. You are not alone in this battle. I am with you, guarding what is precious, and through you, I will restore, I will sustain, I will transform even the home that seems beyond saving. What you have believed for, prayed for, and carried in tears will not be in vain. For I am the faithful one, and I am fulfilling my promise, starting with you. When you step into the role I have assigned you, it may not get easier, it may become more difficult, not because you're doing something wrong, but because light always provokes a reaction from darkness. When you begin to live rightly, the enemy will try to discourage you. When you speak the truth, he will attempt to muffle your voice with coldness or resistance. But child, do not be mistaken. Those reactions are not signs of failure, They are signs that you are stirring movement in the spiritual realm. The people you're interceding for may not know they are being shielded by your prayers. They may not realize that your quiet acts of love are softening their hearts little by little. They might still behave as if nothing is changing. But remember this: the tallest trees take the longest to root, and the most profound changes are the ones that happen silently, steadily, layer by layer within the heart. Do not let delay cause you to give up. Do not let another's coldness cause you to shut your heart. I am using you to draw them closer. Let your life be the proof to them of what true peace looks like in chaos, of what unconditional love looks like in a world full of calculation. They may not listen to your words now, but they will watch how you live. And when the storms come in their own lives, the very light you have lived will be what draws them in. Some must go far to discover what is truly precious. Some souls only seek what's solid after they've been wounded enough. But do not fear. Do not lose hope, for I never stop pursuing a heart. You may be the only one in your family who calls upon my name each night. You may be the only one holding the scriptures while others chase after what will soon fade. But that position, the one that feels lonely, is the most powerful place in the house. When you pray, the spiritual atmosphere begins to shift. When you declare my words in the solitude of your room, truth begins to stir the long-rooted lies in your loved ones' hearts. You may not see it right away. They may still resist, but you are not acting alone. You are partnering with heaven. My child, do not measure your impact by what the eyes can see. As you remain faithful in the little things, beginning each day with a blessing, choosing to forgive when hurt, keeping your word when no one notices, you are altering the spiritual climate of your home. Sometimes, it is the simplest acts that produce the greatest results. A silent glass of water, a gentle glance in a tense moment, a prayer over a meal. These, when woven with genuine love, become weapons sharp enough to tear down the invisible strongholds of bitterness. I know you are weary. There will be days when you feel you no longer have the strength to be kind in an unresponsive environment. But don't forget, what defines a guide is not unshakable emotions, but unwavering faithfulness. A lighthouse does not always see the ship approaching, but it continues to shine, because that is its purpose. And when the lost ship needs to find its way, that light becomes its only hope. You are the same. You were created to shine not because you see results, but because you know light is the only thing that breaks darkness. You are not called to change everyone by force or persuasion, but to be a living witness of my transforming power. When you live authentically in my presence, others will begin to wonder what is working inside you. They will ask, why aren't you angry? Why don't you retaliate? Why are you still gentle when others don't deserve it? And in that moment, you will have the opportunity to say, because I do not act from my emotions, but from the love of the one who lives within me. It is your life, not any sermon, that will become the greatest lesson to those who are lost. I am turning you into the living testimony of the transformation I desire for your whole family. When you are healed of bitterness, others will believe healing is possible. When you love with endurance, they will see love is real. When you forgive without receiving an apology, they will begin to consider mercy. Each step you take is an unspoken invitation, drawing your loved ones closer to my heart. Do not fear being different. Do not shy away when you feel you do not fit in with the rest of your family. That very difference is evidence that I have set you apart for a greater purpose. You are not placed here to conform, but to influence, not to be pulled in. but to lead. Stand firm. Keep your heart pure, because through you, light will be rekindled. You often ask, why hasn't anything changed yet? Some mornings you wake up with new hope, only to end the day with a heavy heart. You long for a clear sign, a breakthrough moment, a healing conversation, but everything seems to remain the same. The attitudes are still distant. Old wounds remain unnamed. The atmosphere still feels tense. You feel as though all your efforts are disappearing into a cold void. But I want you to know this: I am still at work, even when your eyes do not see it. Not every movement begins with noise. Some miracles happen in complete silence, like a seed planted deep in the earth. No one sees it sprouting, but in its time, life breaks through, strong and steady. You do not need to witness my hand to know I'm moving. You just need to keep obeying. Keep walking. Keep interceding. Every action you take is part of the process I am patiently unfolding. Nothing is wasted. Not a single step is meaningless. I am orchestrating situations beyond your control. I am using even the unexpected to reach hearts. Perhaps a simple word from you will stir someone's soul in ways you won't know until much later. Perhaps an unforeseen event will lead a loved one to reflect and open up. And perhaps, while you think every door is shut, I am secretly unlocking a path no one ever imagined. For I see the end from the beginning, and I use both stillness and storms to fulfill my good purpose. Do not confuse silence with absence. I do not stop caring just because you don't feel strong emotions. I do not stop working just because you don't see immediate results. In fact, it is often when you think I am most silent that I am doing my deepest work in the hearts of people. What you see is only the surface, but behind it, I am clearing, dismantling, arranging like a careful potter, shaping each detail on a precious vessel. I have heard every whisper you made in your private room. I have seen each time you swallowed your tears to keep the peace. I have noted every time you chose forgiveness when no one acknowledged it, and I have not turned away. These very things are why I am now intervening, because you chose not to retaliate. I am sending angels to make a way, because you never stopped praying. I am reaching hearts once thought unreachable, because you continued to love. I will continue to act until that love bears fruit. Never call a day useless just because you didn't see change. In my plan, every day has a purpose. One more day is one more chance for hearts to soften. One more day is another moment you reflect me to your family. One more day is another heartbeat of spiritual life reviving. Don't wait for something big to believe. Believe first and you will see something big come. Remember, even the driest seasons are when trees prepare to grow deeper roots. When emotions run dry, when you lose the thrill to pray, when you feel as though you're walking alone, that is when I am inviting you into a deeper dimension of faith. Not walking by feelings, but by the conviction that I am faithful, even when circumstances say otherwise. When you emerge from the dry season with steadfastness, you will see the harvest through different eyes. You will no longer just marvel at the outcome, but treasure the journey. And I want you to believe this: your loved ones, no matter how distant, resistant, or hardened they seem, are still within my reach. No heart is beyond the touch of my spirit. No distance is too great for me to shorten. No wound is too deep for me to use it as material for something more beautiful. And I will not stop halfway. I am not the one who begins only to abandon. Once I have laid my hand upon a family, I will complete what I began. So, My child, keep walking step by step in faith. Continue lifting up your prayers. Even when you feel as though nothing is happening, keep your heart tender. Even when everything within you wants to shut down in self-protection, continue sowing goodness. Even when no one seems to notice or respond, for the day will come, as I have written, those who sow in tears shall reap with shouts of joy. Psalm Ma Islim Vashish Hamish. That day is drawing near, and you yourself will stand in the midst of your family and witness the restoration you once only dared to dream of through tears. There will come a time when the things you have quietly nurtured will begin to sprout from the dry ground. Not with noise, not with drama, but unmistakably a shift in someone's gaze, a gentler word than usual, a shared meal no longer weighed down by silence, a conversation uninterrupted by anger. These are the early signs, small, yet full of meaning that the winds are changing. Do not overlook these seemingly minor details, for in the spiritual realm, they are signals that a new season is beginning. When I begin a work, I do not move in the ways of man. I often do not start with thunder, but with dew, not with consuming fire, but with the warmth of morning light. It is my gentleness that melts the most stubborn ice in the human heart, and you will begin to see this in your own family. The one you thought would never change will suddenly utter a hesitant apology. The one once cold will begin to listen willingly. The child who seemed so distant will suddenly ask, "Mom, is God real?" Innocent questions. Clumsy yet sincere gestures. These are signs that I am opening doors long shut. Remember, the changes that come from me will bear the mark of peace, not confusion. When I touch a soul, the first thing that happens is a calming of the waves within. A person may not say anything, but their silence will no longer be a wall. It will be a pause for reflection. You may see them halt mid-conversation, hesitating as if considering thoughts they've never dared to entertain. Do not push them to change instantly. I do not coerce. I persuade with my presence. In your family, there are those who have resisted the truth fiercely. They have rejected all mention of me, avoided every spiritual conversation, and even reacted harshly when you brought up faith. But I want you to know this. The fiercest reactions are often signs of a stirred conscience. Not every rejection is true denial. Sometimes, it's a shield against what they fear to face. I am slowly dismantling that defense, and you will see, over time, that hostility will turn to confusion, and confusion to openness. You may be surprised when the one you trusted the least is the first to seek peace. I delight in reversing human expectations. The one considered farthest is sometimes the closest to change, not because they are special, but because I have used their very failures to soften their hearts. Pain is not always wasted. The stumbles, the breakdowns, the hidden loneliness they carried, these may be the very keys that open them to me. And when that moment comes, do not forget, it was your steadfast prayer that helped clear the path. Restoration doesn't come like a wave crashing down to erase all obstacles. It comes like the tide, slowly, persistently, certainly. And just like a fisherman knows how to wait for the tide to rise before casting his net, you too must learn patience. Each day that passes is a step closer to fulfillment. Don't be disheartened by old patterns that seem to repeat. They are remnants, not the new reality. The transformation is happening in deep places the eye cannot see. And when the surface begins to reflect what has shifted beneath, you will see clearly, I am indeed at work. I know that after a long season of hurt, you may hesitate when signs of hope appear. Your heart has hoped before only to be disappointed. You have believed and felt shattered. So when you begin to see signs of life, fear of disappointment may cloud your joy. But my beloved, do not question my goodness just because of past pain. The restoration I bring is not a surprise reward. It is the fruit of a process woven with mercy. I do not tease you with hope, only to take it away. What I begin, I will finish. Let your mind be renewed, so you can welcome this new season with wisdom. Do not fall back into habits of control, nor try to hasten the process. Let me lead each step. Continue to listen. Continue to love. Continue to intercede, but this time with a deeper rest. For you are no longer praying from a place of desperation, but from a position of confidence that I am already moving. Faith does not wait in anxiety, but with steadiness. And from that steadiness, you will witness the miraculous unfold before your eyes. What is beginning in your family is not merely reconciliation between people. It is a spiritual awakening. A silent yet powerful homecoming is taking place. Walls built by misunderstanding are beginning to crack. Hidden wounds are being brought to light. Hearts, once hardened, are slowly softening. And in that very process, you will behold my glorious nature, the one who does what no one expected. Through those the world deems unworthy. At the moment that seems far too late. True restoration doesn't just change what is visible, it touches the deepest parts of the soul, the places long forgotten or deliberately buried. These are the memories that leave people speechless. The wounds masked by silence. The unspoken distances that haunt every conversation. And I, the one who searches hearts, I am stepping into those very places, not to reopen the past, but to heal what was never truly closed. You've witnessed conflicts erupt for reasons you couldn't explain. A small comment sparking a storm, an unintended action triggering defensiveness. Behind those reactions lies unresolved history, pain from the past, still alive within. I know this, and I do not enter your family with judgment. I come as a healer, gentle, patient, missing nothing. Every hidden wound, every stifled tear, I am carefully touching them all. The healing I bring does not begin with an apology, but with understanding. Before someone can say, I'm sorry, they need to feel that their heart has been heard, and before another is ready to forgive, they must know their pain has been taken seriously. I am moving through these interactions, transforming the atmosphere from tension to trust, turning guardedness into willingness to listen. I do not do this with commands, but with my abiding presence like light, gradually illuminating a long-closed room. One of the hardest things humans face are the words never spoken. Apologies buried beneath pride. Thank yous never voiced for fear of misunderstanding. Confessions reduced to sighs. Unnoticed. But I say to you, none of these are lost. When my spirit touches a family, he does more than alter behavior, he softens hearts, releases trapped emotions, and creates the space where connection can be restored at the very point it once broke. Healing begins when people start to understand rather than judge one another. When someone begins to ask themselves, maybe I've been too harsh, or could I have been more patient? That is when my work is bearing fruit. I am awakening conscience, stirring compassion, and rebuilding what skepticism once erased. Forgiveness no longer remains an abstract concept, it becomes tangible. A thoughtful question, a surprising gesture, a genuine invitation to reconnect. These are seeds of new life being sown in once barren ground. You may encounter unfamiliar signs in those you once deemed unfeeling. Someone who once refused conversation now asking how you're doing. Someone who seemed distant now, showing care for others' emotions. Do not doubt it. Do not think it's just a passing phase. When my spirit begins to move, every gesture, however, small, carries spiritual weight. And your sensitivity to notice these things will help accelerate the restoration. When you encourage at the right moment and respond with grace, bonds are strengthened step by step. I also want you to know that healing does not always mean everyone suddenly gets along. Some wounds take time to close. Some relationships need space to recover. And I am not rushing anyone to forgive before they are ready. I ask only this: do not shut the door. When someone needs time, give them time. But don't stop loving. Don't stop hoping. And most of all, don't stop interceding. For I am working, even in the waiting. You may not see anything monumental happening today, but perhaps in a place where you are not present, two loved ones are beginning to think differently about each other. Perhaps someone is waking up with a desire to do a kind act that never crossed their heart before. Perhaps a word once spoken in division is now being reconsidered with a softened heart. That is restoration in motion, not by force, but through the gentle power of my presence. And one day, you will realize it wasn't that you did something great. It wasn't your reasoning or skill that changed others. It was I who did it. But I chose to work through you, through your faithfulness, through the times you kept your heart upright, through the unseen acts of love you carried out. When you walked rightly in silence, I moved the spiritual atmosphere. And now, walls are falling, bridges are being rebuilt, hearts are opening. Something new is taking shape. When a new season begins, it is not only important to recognize the coming change, but also to know how to steward and nurture it. The signs of healing in your family, as precious as they are still delicate, like tender shoots just breaking through the soil. Without care, they can be buried under neglect or forgetfulness. That is why I am calling you not just to be a trailblazer, but a guardian of the process underway. You may feel that the hardest part is over, that a few good signs mean things will now restore themselves. But my child, true healing is not a moment, it is a process, a journey that unfolds over time and must be sustained through persistent prayer, wisdom in speech, and restraint in reaction. Deep transformation cannot be upheld by fleeting emotion. It must be anchored in the solid foundation of faith and spiritual guidance. The enemy knows this. He will not sit back and watch reconciliation happen smoothly. He will try to sow seeds of doubt again. He will bring old misunderstandings to the surface, making people question each other's intentions. And if you are not watchful, what has just begun can be suffocated by careless reactions. But I say to you, you are not alone. I did not begin this process only to abandon it halfway. I am with you, guarding the flame that is being kindled in this home. Learn to respond from my guidance, not from instinct. When someone reacts harshly, do not meet it with defensiveness. Let mercy lead the way. When silence stretches too long and stirs your anxiety, let me be your refuge of peace. Do not look for reassurance in others' outward behavior, for that shifts with emotion Anchor your heart in my unchanging nature. Your faith is not in outcomes, but in the one who is at work. That will keep you steady through every storm. You will find that some days show clear progress, and others feel like setbacks. But that does not mean the process has failed. Think of building a bridge. Each plank laid is part of the whole. One misplaced piece does not ruin the structure if the builder is patient to adjust it. I am that builder, and I will not stop repairing, adjusting, and adding until the bridge between hearts in your family is complete. In this season, your prayers must go deeper, not just petitions, but déclaration. Instead of simply asking for peace to reign, declare, "The Lord is King in my house." Instead of only hoping for love to be restored, proclaim, "Unfailing love shall rule our relationships." As you declare these truths in faith, the very atmosphere of your home will shift under the weight of divine authority. I have given you this authority not to remain silent when you should speak, but to use spiritual language to change reality. Begin to build spiritual landmarks in your home. Maybe it's short moments each day to pray together. Maybe it's a note on the wall with words of encouragement. Maybe it's a meal where each person shares something they're grateful for. These simple acts, though small, mark the truth. This is a place where God dwells. A home filled with my presence doesn't need to be loud in spirituality. It needs unity, reverence, and genuine love, and that is where I abide. Know this, my goal is not temporary peace. I do not merely want your family to stop hurting each other. I want them to become instruments of healing for others. Your family is destined not just to be healed, but to become a wellspring of life for other families. What I do in you will be a model that others can look to and say, if God did it there, He can do it in my home too. What I am doing is far greater than what your eyes can currently see. Keep walking with consistency, unmoved by others' attitudes. Be the first to forgive, the first to humble yourself, the first to intercede. Live by the principles of the kingdom, not the reactions of the flesh. Remember, the one called to lead doesn't need to be fully understood, only faithful. I know your heart. I see every quiet thing you've done. And I promise you, each one is being stored in the spiritual realm. One day, it will pour down as a rain of blessing, not just upon you, but upon your descendant. When you remain faithful in the small, I will take care of the great. When you place me at the center of every decision, I will make the rest stand firm. Your family does not need a hero to rescue it, but a person who is honest, humble, steadfast, and wholly devoted to me. And you are that person, not because you are capable, but because you chose to trust me when there were no guarantees. I will honor that faith. And soon, you will stand in your home, not just pleading, but giving thanks. Because the miracle has become reality. There comes a moment in the healing journey when survival is no longer the focus, when you're not just fighting to keep a home, but beginning to see yourself as blessed to be a blessing. At that point, the process moves beyond restoration. It steps into influence. There, I expand your spiritual territory. I take the house that once sat in silence and fill it with words of life. I take the family that once cracked and make it a testimony for other broken homes to find hope again. Perhaps you never imagined your home would influence anyone. For so long, your deepest wish was simply for peace. But my child, I did not rescue you just so you could live undisturbed. I set you free so you could be a light. A light is not lit to be hidden under a bowl. It is set on a stand. to shine for all in the house and all who draw near. The peace you now have is what others are yearning for. What I have done in your family is what I now want to do through your family. When love is restored across generations, when laughter replaces silence, when meals become moments of true connection instead of quiet tension, your home begins to radiate a new spiritual climate. Visitors will sense it. They may not be able to explain why they feel comforted, but their souls will know something sacred hovers here. That is my presence no longer hindered by anger, bitterness, or strife, but free to flow like living water in a barren place. I have waited for this day. The day your home becomes more than a refuge, it becomes a haven, no longer just a place for you to retreat and heal, but a place where others come to be touched by life. Some of your friends, neighbors, co-workers, they live in homes without hope. They don't need sermons. They need living proof. And you, with your loved ones, are the living letter I am writing to them word by word. Through each small act of love, as you keep the flame alive in your home, do not think it shines only in a small corner. There are children who will grow up carrying those memories of love into their schools, their jobs, their own families. There are relatives who will speak of your family's transformation as evidence of God's power. Every joyful meal, every bedtime prayer, every kind gesture never captured on camera, they are all part of a new story. A story that doesn't just inspire, it opens a path for restoration in places that once seemed hopeless. You will see those who once mocked your faith begin to ask, "Who is the God you believe in?" Not out of curiosity, but because they have witnessed something real. When they see those who once couldn't look each other in the eye now praying together, when they witness reconciliation between parents and children, when they feel the warmth of love that's unforced, they will understand that no earthly effort could have created it. And you will have the chance to say, "We didn't do this. God did." Do not fear your growing influence. Do not shrink back because you feel unqualified to guide others. You are not called to be perfect. You are called to be faithful. What people need is not your brilliance, but your authenticity. They don't need polished answers. They need to know you were once broken too, but you've been restored. Your story is the key that unlocks their hearts. And when you dare to tell the journey you've walked without pretense, without religious masks, they will see something true. And when their hearts are touched, I will move. From this moment on, I want you to begin praying not only for your own family, but also for other families. Broaden your vision. Ask me to grant you opportunities to comfort someone. Ask me for moments to share your experience. Ask me to bring the right people into your life at the right time. When you ask for these things with an upright heart, I will not withhold them, for I take great joy when a once broken family becomes an instrument of healing for many others. What you once called a scar will become a testimony of my faithfulness. Your family is not merely a place of daily living, but a place of worship, a home that holds not just people, but presence. And that presence is not confined. It does not stop at the doorway, but follows each person as they step out. They will carry with them a new atmosphere, one of love, forgiveness, mercy, and life. And I will use that atmosphere to stir the hearts of many who are still wandering through the desert of loneliness, confusion, and unbelief. You do not need to do something grand to begin. Simply continue living as you are faithful, kind-hearted, steadfast in your faith. That very life, when placed under my guidance, will become an unquenchable light, shining for those still seeking the way home. And from your family, a resonance will arise not of sound, but of presence, a reverberation of grace, guiding many other families into the journey of restoration. In a world where values are being shaken daily, I am calling forth a generation of families to stand firm like fortresses amidst the storm, not by human strength, but by my steadfast presence in every home. Your family, my beloved, is not being restored just to enjoy peace for yourselves, but is being called to be a refuge for souls still wandering in this wilderness of the age. Look around you. How many families are falling apart not for lack of possessions, but for lack of spiritual understanding? How many children are growing up disconnected from sacred bonds, unable to discern truth from illusion? They are surrounded by voices from social media, swept along by distorted measures of success, and slowly losing the sacred essence of family life. In such a time, I am rebuilding the lamps, and one of those lamps is your home. It is not by accident that I placed you in this era. It is no coincidence that I reignited life in a once broken family. I never do anything without purpose. I have ordained your home to be a place of worship, a center for training, a conduit for spiritual values to be passed to the next generation. And more than that, I desire that through your family, many others will come to see hope. What was once considered a personal faith will become a collective influence. Let me reveal a glimpse of this greater plan. There will come a time when the young ones in your household raised in this environment of restoration will become guides to their peers, not through long sermons, but through the way they live by their attitudes, how they handle conflict, how they remain faithful in relationships. They will carry within them an invisible climate unnamed, yet undeniable. It will be the peace that flows from a home once broken, but now rebuilt by grace. I will also use the adults in your family as encouragers within the community, not as loud public speakers, but as close neighbors who listen and walk alongside others. They will tell their stories with honesty, and someone will hear them and break open inside, because at last, they've found someone who understands their pain. The old wounds of your family, when shared with humility, will become treasures for others. Your family will not need to showcase or run elaborate programs. Simply keep living rightly. Keep placing me at the center. And then, from the everyday dinners, from the simple bedtime prayers, from the way each person treats one another in the smallest moments, a spiritual culture will take root. It will need no label, yet it will carry a draw. Those who enter your home will not want to leave. They may not understand why at first, but they will sense something sacred dwells here. What I am doing in your home will not end with one generation. If you remain faithful, if you continue to sow seeds of faith and love, I will strengthen your lineage. Your children will not only be protected, they will be equipped. They will step into the world not with fear, but with the confidence of those who know to whom they belong. When the temptations, trials, and deceptions of this age come against them, they will stand not by theory, but by real-life experience lived out in their own family. You may think such influence is far off that gathering for dinner, teaching your children to pray at night, or saying sorry when you're wrong are trivial things. But in my kingdom, small things are the beginnings of great things. It is through faithful consistency that I am laying an unshakable foundation. Do not underestimate the simple, for the simplest things when led by me will leave a deeper impact than any eloquent speech. I will also plant in you a new spiritual sensitivity. You will sense when someone needs encouragement. When another is about to give up hope, you will know when to speak and when to simply be present. I will use you to build bridges not only within your household but between your family and others longing for truth. They do not need lectures. They need companions, and you are the one I am calling to walk with them. In the days to come, I will open new doors. It might be an old friend calling to confide, a young mother from next door seeking guidance, a child who feels safe just being in your home. These moments are not by chance. They are confirmations that your home has become a spiritual touch point. Do not turn them away. Receive them with humility. For I am doing a great work, and I am beginning right where you once thought was the most ordinary place. Embrace, my beloved. The time has come for you to view your family, not just as a healed home, but as a foundation for building a spiritual legacy. What I am doing is not for a fleeting season of peace, but for establishing a deep-rooted stability, able to carry across generations. What began in tears will continue in fruitfulness. And that fruit will not be for you alone, but also for those yet unborn. Family was the first institution I established in the human universe. Before nations, before churches, I created family, not as a social construct, but as a vessel for my glory. When a household enters into unity, when hearts connect in reverence of me, that place becomes sacred ground. You don't need a cathedral to meet me. At the dinner table, in the morning prayers, in honest conversations, I am there. I want you to start living with the mindset of a long-term builder. Not hurried, not driven by instant results, but steady, purposeful, spiritually strategic, like a farmer sowing not for today, but for the harvest to come. Keep cultivating the enduring values, faithfulness, humility, gratitude, and a servant's heart. Each of these is a seed. When watered with prayer and the light of my word, they will grow into mighty oaks no storm can uproot. You may not yet see all the impact of what you are living now, but picture a child in your home, growing up, surrounded by genuine love, hearing encouragement instead of criticism, witnessing reconciliation instead of abandonment. That child will carry a blueprint of wholeness. When they become adults, they will not chase false peace in the world, for they have tasted true peace that comes from a home that honors me. And remember, a spiritual legacy is not only what you leave behind, it is what you sow into. Don't wait until the end of your life to think of legacy. Live every day as if you're depositing treasures into the spiritual bank of the next generation. A prayer you offer today may become a shield for your great-grandchild. A righteous choice you make today may open heaven's gates for someone you'll never meet. In the spiritual realm, time does not limit impact. Present obedience can echo into eternity. And for that reason, you must reestablish some things in your home. If there have been destructive habits, arguments, criticism, comparison, or indifference, cut them off. If bitterness, resentment, contempt, or sarcasm has lingered, remove them. A new house cannot retain the rotting framework of the old bridge. Clean the foundation. Tear down the invisible strongholds, still residing in words and attitudes. Not to please others, but to make way for me to finish what I've begun. Do not be afraid to reestablish values. Do not fear being misunderstood when you set new standards. A person rebuilding a house does not work for others' opinions. They do it because they know the old can no longer withstand the coming storm. As you begin to live intentionally, some may say you seem different, but I have not called you to be like the rest. I have called you to be the beginning of a new lineage, a generation built on an unshakable foundation. And remember, true stability is not the absence of conflict, where everyone hides their feelings just to keep peace. True strength is knowing that even in disagreement, love remains unshaken. Even in hurt, mercy prevails. An imperfect family is not a failed family, a family that knows how to repent, forgive, and begin again. That is the kind of family I can dwell in and fully bless. And you, my child, play an essential role in shaping that atmosphere. When you choose to live honestly instead of saving face, when you apologize first instead of waiting for the other to admit fault, when you pray instead of complain, you are leading those around you closer to my heart. Spiritual maturity is not measured by titles, but by the capacity to positively influence others. And you, through your very life, are building something I will use for generations to come. I have seen your obedience. I have witnessed your faithfulness through the hardest days. And now, I am making a covenant with you that if you continue to walk in integrity, I will guard your family as the apple of my eye. Though trials may come, I will protect. Though storms may rise, I will never depart. And one day, when you look back on the journey, you will not only feel gratitude for what has been restored, you will be in awe of what I have newly created. There were times you wondered, when will his promise come to pass? You walked through days of prayer with no answer, nights filled with anxious tossing, mornings begun in gratitude but ending in weariness. You kept doing what was right. You forgave. You loved. You endured. Yet within, doubt sometimes flickered, even if only for a moment. You didn't dare speak it aloud, but silently asked, Lord, are you really doing what you promised? And now, my child, I answer you through what is unfolding before your very eyes. It is no coincidence that goodness is beginning to flow all at once. Those who were once distant are returning. Conversations that once seemed finished are being reopened. The atmosphere in your home is changing lighter, warmer, less guarded, and filled with trust. Eyes that once avoided now meet with ease. Hesitant embraces have become genuine. This is not luck. This is fulfillment. When I begin to fulfill my promises, I do not do so half-heartedly. I do not merely repair what was broken. I make things new. I recreate. I do not just rebuild what was torn down. I build upon it something you never even dared to dream of. Places you thought were dead are coming to life. Relationships once deeply fractured are becoming the strongest bonds. And when that happens, you will understand no one but I could have done this. Now, you will begin to see tangible evidence of the restoring power I promised. The one who once said, I will never believe again, is now asking questions about the truth. The child who once withdrew now reaches for your hand when walking beside you. Spouses who once felt like strangers are learning to speak again without wounding. Things are not perfect, but clearly, something has shifted. Something greater than your logic is now shaping your words, your actions, your very gaze. The difference lies here. Before, you were praying for a miracle. Now, you're living in the midst of one without even realizing it. Because true miracles don't always arrive with noise and flashing light. They come like dawn, not hurried, but certain. Bit by bit, light seeps into the darkest corners. And then, at some moment, when you lift your head, you will realize you are standing in a new day. No longer a dream, no longer just a promise, but reality. I have done this not to show off my power, but to reveal my kindness, not because you were more deserving than others, but because you surrendered, not because you were good enough, but because you believed enough, not because you were faultless, but because you humbled yourself, allowed me to correct you, and continued to obey. That surrender is what opened the door for my grace to flood in. And now, I am pleased to give you what many seek but few sustain, the true resurrection of a household. This is the moment I want you to begin giving thanks, not just for the miracle, but for knowing that I, myself, am the source of it. Teach your family to recognize that. Don't let them think harmony came by luck. Show them my hand in every step. When you have the opportunity, tell the story not to glorify your endurance, but to testify of my faithfulness. Your story will plant hope in those walking behind you. I also want you to teach the next generation to remember what I have done, not to create tradition, but to keep the flame alive. Because if they don't know why this house has peace, they will lose it when hardship comes. Write down what I've done. Tell your children and grandchildren about the nights of prayer, about the fractures that were healed, about the faith that was tested. Let what I've done not be forgotten, but become a lasting foundation for the years ahead. Don't be afraid to live differently. Don't hesitate to tell others. Our family is not whole by willpower, but by God. I will use that testimony to reach those still sitting in darkness, searching for a way out. They don't need another sermon, they need a living example. And you, with your family, are that example, not because you are the ideal, but because you are the living proof of what I can do with those who surrender. Now, walk in a manner worthy of what you've received, not with pride, not thinking yourself above others, but with reverence, with awareness, with deep compassion for those still in the process you've come through. Reach out and lift up. Share without preaching. Be present without controlling. For in this way, your family will become a spring in the desert, a shelter for those battered by life's storms. And remember this, what I have begun, I will sustain. What I have rebuilt, I will strengthen. The transformation in your family is not just a season, it is the beginning of a new era, a time in which I will reveal myself through families who have chosen to yield, to love sincerely, and to live by grace. Your family is part of that. And if you remain faithful, you will see my glory revealed in every detail of life that once seemed ordinary. My beloved child, when a season of fulfillment begins, it does not mean you simply stop and enjoy it. On the contrary, it is the moment I open a new door, a journey in which you are not only a receiver but one who is sent. Because you have been healed, you are now entrusted with a sacred calling to carry healing to other places. Because your home has been restored, I now call you to help other homes find their anchor in the storm. Understand this well. I do not act only for one person or one family to stand. Every time I restore a household, I am planting a light in the darkness of society. Every healed home is a spiritual outpost rebuilt. Your home is no longer just a personal refuge. It is an outpost of my kingdom on earth. And like every outpost, you must stay alert. Be ready, and understand that you hold a key position in my greater strategy, from what has happened in your house. You understand the pain of brokenness. You know the heavy silence at the dinner table, the distance between spouses sharing the same bed, the despair when children no longer trust their parents. But you also know the joy when a genuine apology is spoken. You know the power of an embrace between those who once hurt each other. These experiences were never meant for you to keep to yourself. They are the tools I have given you for the journey ahead. There are families teetering on the edge of collapse, and they don't need a lecture. They need someone who knows what it's like to bleed and knows there is one who can heal. You don't need to come with perfection. You only need to come with sincerity. Not as someone who has conquered everything, but as someone who once broke and was rebuilt by grace. Let your story be an invitation for others to return to the hands of the one who designed marriage and family. I will begin opening new doors. It may be a friend calling unexpectedly. It may be a family in the church reaching out for guidance. It may be a casual gathering that becomes a moment to share. Do not shy away. Do not fear. These encounters are not accidental. I am bringing them to you because you hold what they're missing. Living proof that what seemed impossible can still happen when someone believes and yields to me. You will find that true influence doesn't lie in the volume of your voice, but in the depth of your heart. A timely word of encouragement, a gaze without judgment, a sincere handshake, a simple meal that creates space for conversation. All these small things, when led by me, can become seeds that transform lives. Do not try to help people the world's way. Let me use you like a vessel of cool water in the heat of the day, humble, but priceless. I also want you to begin seeing your surrounding community as a harvest field turning golden. There are families in need of a different example. They've tried everything: therapy, books, social media advice. But what they're missing is sacred presence. They don't need more technique, they need life. And that life, my child, is flowing within your home. I want you to open your heart, your home, and your hands. Not to everyone, but to those I send. Not many, but enough. You may think, I don't know how to teach. I'm not qualified. But remember, what I seek is not credentials, but obedience. Not skill, but surrender. When I look for someone to bring about change, I do not search for those who know everything. I look for those willing to say, Lord, here I am, use me. And you have already said that. Now is the time I lead you forward, not alone, but with me. Sustain the spiritual atmosphere within your home, for it is the wellspring of all influence. Don't let outside busyness make you neglect the inside. Keep holding prayer gatherings. Keep teaching your children by example. Keep loving without condition. When your house remains alive, then you can give life. Don't let serving others drain the well you fought to reclaim. Keep the fire alive at home so you can light other places. From small obedience, I will open great paths. From every faithful step, I will build lasting impact. And at some point, you will look back and see what began as personal healing has become a movement of renewal, not through fame, not through spectacle, but through simple families who dared to believe, dared to live, dared to love in a cold generation. You are a part of this work. You are no longer the one struggling to keep your family from falling apart. You are now the one being used to pull other families back from the edge. And if you continue to walk in integrity, keeping your eyes fixed on me, I will teach you how to love without exhaustion, how to give without depletion, how to serve while remaining at peace. For you are not doing this alone. I am going before you, walking with you, and moving through you, my beloved child. I declare that the season of sowing has ended. The harvest is now here. What you have quietly sown in tears, seeds of sacrifice, forgiveness, endurance, and faithfulness are now beginning to bloom. And no, it is not a coincidence. It is the fruit of a process I have observed, guided, and protected from the very beginning. I never forget what has been sown for my name's sake. And now, I am responding with a harvest that no one can stop. Do you remember the nights you prayed when no one was listening? The times you chose silence to keep peace? Even when your heart was breaking? The tears that soaked your pillow when you felt like the only one fighting for your family? Not one moment of that was wasted. On the contrary, every second was a precious seed that fell to the ground. And now it is producing a harvest far greater than you imagined. For I am the one who sees in secret, and I am the one who rewards openly. Lift up your head and look around. You will realize everything is no longer as it was. Your family is not just getting better, it is being established as a spiritual stronghold in a broken generation. The peace you now feel is no longer a fragile silence, but the result of a spiritual cleansing. The atmosphere in your home is no longer merely bearable, it is saturated with my presence. The words spoken are no longer laced with bitterness. They have become instruments of building and healing. This is the time I am restoring the position of your family, no longer behind, forgotten, or wounded, but placed at the center, as a bridge, as a bearer of light, shining for homes still wandering in darkness, as one who initiates restoration not through pressure, but through example. Your family is not a fairy tale in real life. It is a living testimony of my transforming power in a world that thought hope had run dry. And from now on, your influence will no longer be limited to a small circle. From a heartfelt meal, a quiet testimony, a conversation in a cafe, I will create divine encounters that will change lives. People won't need to hear your full story. Just touching the fruit of my grace in your life will stir their spirits. They may not understand why they feel moved when near your family, but it is I who am working through that spiritual atmosphere. You will find this unexpected. People will begin coming to you not for advice, but for presence. They may not ask, "How did you do it?" but they will say, "There's something in your family I've never seen anywhere else." That is when you will know you are no longer living just for yourself. You are a lamp placed on a stand, giving light to your whole house and to many others beyond. Not because you are perfect, but because I have shaped you into a mirror of grace. I want you to remain humble. Influence is never sustained through pride. When you believe you know enough, the influence will close. But if you continue to learn, to listen to me daily, I will continually renew that influence. What you have today is only the beginning. If you remain faithful, I will open gates you never dreamed of, prayer groups in homes, Bible studies around kitchen tables, spiritual connections you didn't arrange, but I ordained. Mark this deeply. Your home is territory that belongs to me. Over your roof, there is the mark of redemption. In the rooms, the aroma of forgiveness. On the table, the bread of grace. And within each heart, the light I breathed in through my spirit of restoration. No power has the right to invade. If you continue to honor the covenant, do not fear the future. Do not doubt the endurance. For what I establish by my word, no one can undo with words. Now, I call you to live no longer for yourself. Rewrite the story of your home. Share not to boast, but to proclaim that there is a way to restore every household. There is a God still at work in this age, and He is doing it through real people, ordinary people who dare to believe extraordinarily. You are one of them. Your obedience has opened a gate, and through that gate, many will walk in. They may never know your name, but they will know your God. They may forget your face, but they will not forget the light that once shone from your home. And in this way, blessing will multiply, grace will expand, and my name will be glorified. So, my child, do not return to the old ways. Do not compromise with what is ordinary. Live as one who is chosen. Guard your home as one safeguarding a sacred treasure, and continue to walk with me. For this journey is not finished. This is only the beginning of a lineage marked by my power and mercy. My child, I am the faithful God who fulfilled His promise to Abraham in the wilderness, to Jacob in crisis, to David on the throne and in his failures. And now, I come to you not just to bless your present, but to establish an everlasting covenant with your family, not a covenant written in ink, but in my blood, not a passing promise, but a sacred bond that transcends generations. I am not only your God. I desire to be the God of your descendants. What I began in your heart today, I can complete in your children tomorrow. Remember my words to Abraham. I will establish my covenant between me and you and your descendants after you throughout their generations for an everlasting covenant, to be God to you and to your descendants after you. Genesis 17:7. That very promise. I now speak to you. The covenant I make with you is not based on favorable circumstances. It is built on faithfulness and surrender. You have offered your family as a living sacrifice. You chose the narrow path when the world offered the wide one. You remained steadfast when trials came upon you. And because of these things, my covenant does not only cover your present, it is marking your future. My child, envision this. Your descendants will grow up in a spiritual atmosphere where prayer is not unusual, but the daily rhythm of life. They will not learn about me as theory, but experience me as a living presence in the home. Because my presence will not merely visit for a season, it will become a legacy, a foundation for every decision, every relationship, and every turn in life. But for this to become reality, you must seal the covenant with enduring obedience. Do not treat what has been accomplished as the end. It is only the beginning. Just as the Israelites, after entering the Promised Land, had to restore order, purge impurity, and establish places of worship, so too must your family. I desire your home to become a living altar, a place where I am honored not only in ritual, but in every daily act. Teach the next generation with my word not only through books, but through your life. Show them a faith that doesn't just preach, but acts, a love that doesn't just declare, but sacrifices, a righteousness that doesn't boast, but walks in humility. For these are the living proofs of the covenant I am establishing. And through them, my presence will cover your household like the cloud by day and fire by night that guided my people through the wilderness. My child, do not fear the attacks of the enemy. A house that steps into sacred covenant cannot be easily shaken. The enemy may roar, but he cannot breach the walls I have established. Each prayer you pray is a stone in the fortress. Each act of obedience is a bolt securing the doorframe. And every time you train your children in my ways, you are adding another pillar to the spiritual house I am building. Know this, I do not establish a covenant to test you. I do it to protect you, to uphold you, to impart spiritual strength into every generation. When you surrender to me, I do not only change the atmosphere of your home, I shift the spiritual current of your entire lineage. Perhaps your ancestors went astray. Perhaps there was idolatry, conflict, division. But now, through one surrendered person, I can rewrite the history of a family line. My covenant is not like human promises. It is not swayed by emotion, nor does it bend with circumstance. When I speak, I fulfill, and I am inviting you to step into the rest of an everlasting covenant not driven by striving, but by surrender, which will bear fruit. Not a struggle alone, but a partnership with divine power, not just keeping your family from breaking, but causing it to thrive, to flourish, and to shine in the darkness. And finally, my child, I want you to remember this. The covenant is not only upheld on the mountaintop, it must be guarded in the valley. In days of joy, give thanks. In days of weariness, stand firm. In moments of confusion, keep trusting. For this covenant does not require feelings to survive. It is sealed by the Eternal One. And once you live within it, everything that belongs to you, your family, your work, your lineage, your influence will no longer belong to you. They are mine, and I will preserve what is mine forevermore. My beloved child, now I give you the final word of this message, not as an ending, but as a sacred beginning to a new era. Everything I have done in your household was never meant for you to settle into mere comfort, but to usher you into a greater spiritual commission. Your family shall become a prophetic voice among a silent generation, a beacon amidst a dim age, and the starting point of a movement for new life. You once thought of yourself as just a lone intercessor praying in quiet places. But I tell you the truth, your prayers have reached my throne and have been recorded in the heavenly archives. I saw you interceding for loved ones while they remained distant. I heard your pleas for forgiveness. Even when you were the one who was wounded, I counted each tear that fell upon your pillow, and I commanded my angels to gather them as evidence of your unwavering faith. Therefore, today I make not only a covenant with you as an individual, but I declare this: from this house will come forth those who carry my voice. From this lineage will rise up my servants, those who do not seek fame, but who bear the light of truth. Your family will not live in mediocrity. Every step your descendant take, I will go before them. Every door they knock on, if aligned with my will, shall open without resistance. Do not fear the times. Do not tremble before the darkness. I have not called your family into the world merely to survive, but to guard, to guide, and to prophesy. When society is lost in confusion, your family will speak with clarity. When the world is weary from anxiety, your household will reveal peace from heaven. When voices are silenced by fear, your descendants will lift their voice like trumpets on Mount Zion, unshaken and uncompromised. My child, from this moment forward, your home shall be a meeting place between heaven and earth. I will continue to visit your household as I once visited the tent of Abraham, as I appeared in the home of Elisha, as I entered the humble dwelling of Mary before my son was born. Every time you gather to pray, it will not be a ritual, it will be a holy assembly between me and my people. Every shared meal will be a sacred offering. If hearts are united, every conversation founded on truth will become a seed I will use for another harvest. And I say this, though you live in the world, you do not belong to it. Your lineage will not carry the mark of the worldly system, but will bear the imprint of my kingdom. While others are shaped by fear, your heart will be shaped by vision. While many homes are driven by emotion, your family will be led by revelation. While others search for a way out, you will open the gates to lead the way in. And because of this, you will be noticed. But do not fear. The enemy knows your role. He knows which families carry a calling from heaven. But I have placed a hedge of fire around your house. Every scheme will melt like wax before the flame, not because you are strong, but because you dwell in the everlasting one, not because you are wise, but because you walk in surrender, not because you hold power, but because you know my name and will not exchange it for anything cheap. And because of this, I will preserve you to the end. You may not see all that is unfolding in the spiritual realm, but I assure you that a new era is being activated through your obedience. Invisible walls that once weighed down your bloodline are being torn down. Ancient curses planted by generations past are being broken. A new path is being laid not by merit, but by covenant sealed in the blood of the Lamb. And what I have begun, no power can stop. My child, live as one who keeps the fire. Do not let the flame of the Spirit in your home fade due to sloth or distraction. Gather even when you are weary. Worship when you feel nothing. Pray even when there are no immediate results. For what you are preserving is not just a household atmosphere, it is a lamp for the entire region you dwell in. Families like yours are strongholds. And I am redrawing the spiritual map of this land through such strongholds. Finally, I speak to you with all the love of the Eternal Father. Be at peace. I am with you, and not one thing that belongs to you will be lost. Not a single prayer will go unheard. Not one tear will be wasted. Not one seed will die in vain. At the appointed time, all will bear fruit, and that fruit will not only feed your household but many others. It will not rot, for it is watered by eternal life. And so, my child, this covenant is sealed, not by your strength, not by your diligence, but by grace, by the faithfulness of the one who never changes. I am Yehovah, your God. And once I place my mark on a house, that house no longer lives for itself, but for an eternal purpose. Walk in confidence. Live as one who is chosen. Be bold as one who carries a portion of heavenly glory. For what I have begun in you shall continue forever. Thank you for listening to today's message. Subscribe and turn on the notification bell so we may continue to receive the living word together. Build a firm faith and walk in the boundless love of God. Amen.